Howdy folks, Helcorix here, and welcome to Thoughts from the Inner Sphere, episode 35. And today we're going to talk about the Zeus, the Lord of those gods. Alright, well, the Zeus is an 80-ton assault mech right down at the bottom of the assault category. And just look at the little stats of this mech. And we have an 80-ton. It's a 460 mover, 17 heat sinks, only 184 points of armor. Carries around a large laser in the left torso, an LRM-15 in the right arm with 1 ton of ammo, 2 medium lasers, 1 in the left torso, 1 in the center torso, and an AC-5 in the left arm with 1 ton of ammo. Alright, what do we think about this mech? Its stock configuration. Well, it can get hot. Really hot. Kind of cooking hot type of thing. If you decide to fire everything you have. And, you know, it just goes back to the old thought process of you got to figure out your range bands. What to fire, what range, and only those weapons. As, you know, if you got 17 heat sinks, you know, that's nothing to sneeze at. You can dissipate a lot of heat. So you can fire a large laser and your LRM-15 and not worry about any problems there. Fire that AC-5, and you're really not going to be falling into any problems with the heat. Now, if you decide to fire, well, I guess one of those medium lasers is pointing to the rear, but what good is having a weapon that you can't bear on your enemies unless he's behind you? And I always find that if you have a weapon in your arm, you can always torso twist and shoot back there anyway. So why not just give him that instead of a medium laser? You know, because you have to shoot at the same arc. Now, let's just look at that. Well, now the big thing I always think about this, like, where does it fall into the grand category of what's its role? You know, is it really an assault mech? Is it more of a harassment assault mech? Is it a fire support assault mech? And I can see it falling into those categories as long as you have enough ammo for the LRM-15. You can use it as a support, and it has that large laser and an AC-5 to do a little bit of damage as you're harassing somebody. So you could turn it into a fire support, or it can just go into kind of it's not really great in the knife fighting category per se. But when you think about it, an LRM-15, you know, you're going to have the problems with minimum range. So if you get too close with it, you're going to have to shoot a secondary target that's farther out. And you're going to add some modifiers that way. So I guess that's one thing you could do with it. Or else by the time you get there, the ammo bays might be dry. You know, that's a lot of times what I find with a lot of these 1 ton of ammo type weapons. You know, you're tossing a whole bunch of weight into 7 tons into a weapon system that you can fire 8 turns and it's dry. So I'd be more inclined to have an extra ton, you know, extend its life expectancy a little bit with that weapon. Or you can just be let's charge in and get toe to toe, literally toe to toe, where you're touching each other and then firing at point blank range, punching, kicking, screaming type of thing. And that works, but I'm more of a try to finesse it a little bit. Now, I am not opposed to going in there and doing let's just do a little dance on you, you know, knock you down and then kick you. That's always a fun thing, but I like doing that. Kick a leg off or something like that, or curb stomp somebody in the cockpit. You're like, crunch. Hey, that's too bad. The AC-5 in 3025, that's a pretty common weapon because when you're suffering with only one heat sink, you know, the type of single heat sinks, heat is always a problem. And throwing something that is like replacing a AC5 with a large laser or PPC, that creates more heat in the long run that you have to make up with the more heat sinks. So, yeah, give and take there. Now, let's just look at a couple variants here. Okay, the major upgrade of Zeus is in the works. Now that Steiner engineers have solved the problems, they have a PPC replacing the autocannon. That's just like I said, you can replace it, so that frees up some weight there. So 7 tons to the PPC, you have 9 tons wrapped up, and that leaves you 2 tons left, and they give you extra heat sinks to dissipate it. So you're up to 19 heat sinks. So you could fire a PPC and a large laser and not heat up if you only walk. Alright, that's not bad. If you run, that's going to put you up there at the 20 mark. So you're just going up 1. You could do that for a few turns and then have to shut something off and cool. You know, that's one way to look at it. So that's a good option there. And you're going to be putting out more damage with that PPC. You're doing 10 versus 5. Yeah, I like that. Now, let's just talking about variants. What we've done in our games with this mech is drop that AC5 down to a large laser. All right. You give it a large laser, that frees up 4 tons. So you could put on another heat sink. All right. That leaves you 3 tons left that you can put into, I think this thing can have 2 more tons. Something like that. Somewhere in there. Maybe 3. You could max out the armor and turn it into a more knife fighter. So a lot of times we put 2 tons of more ammo on, or armor on, and you can throw another ton of ammo into that LRM-15 to extend its life. So you could, sit there with 16 shots versus the 8 that you would have with the LR-15. What's not to seize that about that, So that's one thing you could look at. And the number of times I've used this mech on the battlefield over the years, I've always find that I'm running it on the peripheral of a battle, kind of like looking for that one moment. It's like you're cruising around the outside of it. You have your really heavy hitters. Like if this is an assault, and you got a couple other assaults that are better armored, and they're better suited for tanking. That's where I'm going to use that. Those tanks to attract the attention and absorb some of that damage that's coming in, while this guy is running around the peripheral part of the battle, throwing those LRMs, shooting the large lasers, picking the targets and tearing stuff down. Because one of the previous videos I was talking about, like order of operations, is I will have these mechs like these that have the large lasers and the PPCs or the LRMs, and their job is just to rip armor off. And a lot of times your knife fighters are going to ones who have the SRMs and a lot of medium lasers that are going to be rolling a lot of dice to crit search. All right. And this is where I use this guy, is I'm just running around the outside, tearing armor off stuff, or doing a blocking. It's like you got a Shadow Hawk coming in that's being a nuisance, and if you're running on the peripheral, that will make the player go, do I pay attention to that Zeus that's really not doing too much, or ignore him and then have the risk of this suddenly this Zeus is in your face and he's putting a kick into your leg and knocking a whole bunch of the armor off, or just knocking it off completely and dropping you right at his feet. And then there's nothing worse than looking up at a assault mech when you got you're one-legged in a two-legged kicking contest type of thing. You don't want to be in that circumstance. So that's how I like to use these guys, is hunting for those, ripping armor off, hunting, and then blocking. And then when the moment's right, and you look like your opponent that's getting ripped up, and if you rip enough armor off, run this guy up, use the shorter range stuff that you may have, and get in there and do a kick or a punch, and make a nice little swing at somebody and hit him in the cockpit. You know, nothing better than that. You know, it's take a risk, take a chance. You know, doing the gamble. Nothing better than knocking somebody's. Especially if you're facing a mech that, or he took, excuse me, a couple hits in the cockpit from like an SRM, a couple SRMs or a medium laser, and they already have a lot of the armor's been breached, but nothing's happened. You know, take a swing at them. It's like if you connect and they already have damage on them, you're gonna take the cockpit out and just drop that mech. You know, that's the kind of things I like to look for. It's like you're looking for the opportunity to maximize the amount of damage you can do and swing the initiative in your favor to force the opponent to be moving while you are sitting there waiting to say, all right, what are you going to do? All right, come on, move. All right, you move there. Okay, you move there. All right, we'll move these guys here. And it's like chess. You know, it's a big chess with throwing dice at each other with big giant stompy robots. That's one way to look at it. So hopefully that gives you guys a couple good ideas what I like to look at the Zeus for. And if you have anything different, what you use it for, let me know. Put it down below and maybe we'll have a discussion about it. And you guys have a good one, and we'll talk with you later.